We already talked about this last week.
This isn't meeting expectations. Your performance needs to improve. I understand the feedback. I'll work on it. I'm confident you can turn this around. I'm positive this strategy will yield better results this time around.
You had the conversation. They nodded. They understood the feedback. They even agreed with it. And now you're sitting in the exact same one-on-one, saying, "We already talked about this." That's the moment feedback starts to feel like nagging. For you and for them. So what happened? If the feedback was clear, why didn't the behavior change? Today's EQ Lab question is simple. Why does feedback sometimes make perfect sense and still change absolutely nothing? Usually because one of three things is missing: clarity, ownership, or skill. Let's break that down.
First, clarity does not equal change. A manager says, "I need you to be more proactive." The employee understands every word. They may even agree. But in the next meeting, they still wait to be asked. Why? Because proactive is a concept, not yet a behavior. Most managers assume if I explain it clearly, they'll do it differently. But understanding is passive. Behavior is active. The brain does not change habits just because something makes sense. It changes when a person has a specific behavior they can actually use in a real moment. So yes, someone can understand your feedback completely and still default to the same pattern under pressure. Second, agreement does not equal ownership. This one gets managers all the time. In a feedback conversation, someone says, "Yeah, that makes sense." And the manager hears, "Great, we're aligned." But sometimes what that really means is, "I understand what you're saying," not "I'm committed to changing this." Agreement means the conversation went smoothly. Ownership means the behavior now feels like theirs to change. And if the idea stays yours, your language, your standard, your solution, the effort often stays low. Behavior starts to move when the person feels, "Okay, I see it, and I know what I'm going to do differently." Third, knowing does not equal skill. Someone can know exactly what to do and still not be able to do it when the moment arrives. They know they should stay calm. They know they should summarize before reacting. They know they should speak up earlier. But then the meeting gets tense, or the client pushes back, or the conversation speeds up, and the old pattern takes over. Because behavior under pressure is driven by more than knowledge. It's driven by habits, emotions, and actual skill. So the gap is often not, they don't understand. It's, they don't yet have a new behavior they can reliably use under real conditions.
So when behavior doesn't change after feedback, managers often jump to one story. They're not taking it seriously. But most of the time, the problem is simpler than that. They're missing one of three things: clarity, ownership, or skill. And once you know which one is missing, the conversation gets much easier to fix. So here's the high EQ version. If you want feedback to stick, use this three-step shift. Clarify it, own it, practice it. First, clarify it. Don't leave the feedback as a vague concept. Not communicate more clearly, but in the next meeting, summarize your key point in one sentence before you explain it. Second, own it. Don't do all the thinking for them. Ask, what would you try differently next time? That's the shift from polite agreement to actual ownership. Third, practice it. Ask, when is this likely to come up again? And what will you do in that moment? That turns feedback from insight into rehearsal. And rehearsal is what actually changes behavior.
Same issue, different approach. This time, the manager doesn't stop at understanding. They help the employee translate the feedback into a real move. Not just, do better, but what will you do differently? When will you do it? Now the employee understands it, owns it, and rehearses it. And when Thursday's meeting gets tense, they actually have something specific to use. That's when behavior starts to shift. If your feedback isn't changing behavior, it may not be because they didn't listen. It may be because the behavior never got translated into practice. So the next time you find yourself repeating the same feedback, ask, is the issue clarity, ownership, or skill? Because feedback doesn't create change. Practice does. So before you repeat the feedback, stop and run a quick check. Can they picture the exact behavior? Have they said it back in their own words? And do they know where they'll practice it next? If one of those is missing, don't repeat the feedback. Fix the gap.
If this episode helped, like the video and subscribe for more tools on hard conversations, feedback, and emotionally intelligent leadership. And tell me in the comments, which gap shows up more on your team? Clarity, ownership, or skill? Next up, what to say when your former peer pushes back. This is EQ Lab. Don't just repeat feedback. Build the behavior that replaces the old pattern.